And in football, one has to expect that almost every play of every game, every practice, they're going to be hitting their heads against each other. That's the nature of the game. Those things seem to happen around 1,000 to 1,500 times a year. Each time that happens, it's around 20 G or more. That's the equivalent of driving a car 35 miles per hour into a brick wall, 1,000 to 1,500 times per year.
For Mike Webster, the head hits just kept on coming for 17 years.
You have to survive. So you learn the methods to survive and be the best at survival in that environment. It means you put your pads on. You're only one play away from getting seriously injured.
So, Michael, we just saw that brutal clip with Mike Webster. What ended up happening with him?
Well, after he retired, he was the Steeler, the quintessential Steeler, center of the line, 17 years, really Mr. Steeler. After he retires, beloved in Pittsburgh, he starts to deteriorate. He retires at 40, 42, and for the next 9 years, it's such a cascade of dementia. He basically loses his mind. He loses his wife, 24 years, the 4 kids, the house, the money. He's living in a pickup truck or the Greyhound bus depot. He's stealing prescriptions for Ritalin so that he can just function, tasering himself to sleep to put the pain away. And basically he falls apart into madness, then he has a heart attack.
So, but at that point, I mean, the NFL knew that it was football related, and there was a theory at the time, because he died before, I don't remember, it was in 05 or 04, that it was going to change the way the NFL dealt with head injuries, but it didn't.
Well, the NFL had known since 1994 that they had a real problem. A lot of people, famous quarterbacks, Troy Aikman, Steve Young, having concussions. So Lee Steinberg, their agent, had been fighting against the NFL forever to pay attention to this problem. And the NFL kind of did, but didn't really. They created a committee called the Mild Traumatic Brain Injury Committee that had on it about half the team doctors, or half the committee was team doctors, and it had some other people, but no real renowned neurosurgeons or neuroscientists. They went underground for about 10 years and said, we're studying it. Mm-hmm. Then at the end of studying it, they published 16 what are now called by people in our film bogus scientific papers that said football is okay for you, especially at the professional level. Your neck is big enough. You can return to play after having a concussion. Don't worry about it. It's not a problem. So Webster's death is important because of a little Nigerian medical examiner decides to check his brain out after the autopsy. They check his brain and he discovers a brand new disease in football players called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE. And in that brain are these tau proteins which are strangling Mike's brain. So suddenly we realize Mike is not dying from a dementia that comes from his family. Mike is maybe dying from football. And that sets off this battle where the NFL goes after them.
Your aptly named program, League of Denial, because this is not something they want to talk about. And I'm sure you saw this quote in the New York Daily News saying what Frontline doesn't address and what you have to think could be right at the top of the NFL's game plan, that tens of millions of Americans don't care. They want their football, they want to cheer for their pro and college teams over a bucket of wings, and they want the thrill of watching their own kids play on the local field. That's the New York Daily News.
I love football.
Yeah, me too.
So we're all in denial.
And we like some of the violence.
Oh, absolutely. That's what did it. When the league started to go from 3 yards in a cloud of dust to these amazing catches, acrobatic catches, to these amazing hits, to faster players, 340-pound guys that could run, across the field in 4 seconds. When that force started to happen, when the helmet got harder and became a weapon, we loved it. Monday Night Football came on the scene. They used 2 helmets crashing together as part of their logo. That was the violence that made the game what it was, and nothing is better than the NFL marketing machine, which we show in the film tonight.
So you've got this NFL concussion watch, too, that's right on your website. I've been checking it every day. It's 36 as of today. What happened, though, with ESPN? They were your partners in this, and I mean, the theory goes that they backed out because they are the NFL, and the NFL's got annoyed with them and said, "Hey, you're either with us or you're with them." What happened?
Well, the New York Times wrote a story that basically said that happened. There's a lot of people at ESPN who I really like. They've worked really hard in one pocket of ESPN. They have 7 Pulitzer Prize-winning reporters working there. The people we were working with, the Fainrud brothers, who are reporters on our film, are ESPN employees. Peter Keating is an amazing reporter. He's on our film, and they stayed with it. But the fact is that there was and I think continues to be a culture fight and war inside ESPN about just how far they'll go. The forces that were with us that had to pull back, I think, are very disappointed. If I worked there, I would be disappointed. I would worry a little bit about how aggressive my network is going to be about covering things where we have clients that pay us, we pay them $2 billion and we earn $7 billion. That equation you don't want to fuss around with.
Didn't it kind of reinforce your point when they got nervous and started backing out? It's like, yeah, because the NFL has so much clout.
It was very good for the publicity for the film.
That's what I'm getting at.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm sorry for the journalism at ESPN that was trying. I hope they can recapture that mojo, because they had it and they were on this story long before we ever got there, and they were incredibly useful to us while we made it. In fact, nothing changed in our film as a result of them pulling back. We were on our own anyway. We had editorial control of the process, and the film is the film and always was the film. Would it be different or better without them? I'm not sure in any significant way.
All right, Michael Kirk will be watching. Thanks for coming.